What do you want?
I need to see my father.
Go back inside.
I need to see him right now.
Do not argue with me. Go back inside.
I need to see him now. Now, 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 now. Stop it, you hurt me. I want my father. I want my father.
All right, just stop that.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are veteran Trekkies, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today we're talking about the Season 6 episode, Rascals. Original air date is October 31st, 1992. Halloween episode.
Woo.
Well, not a Halloween episode, but the episode aired on Halloween.
No, it's definitely a Halloween episode.
It kind of is. So, as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
I mean, it is Picard's biggest fear. Children.
He becomes his worst fear.
Wow, spoilers.
Okay.
For like 5 minutes.
Okay, so we have Ensign Ro. I love Ensign Ro.
Yeah.
Ensign Ro, Keiko, Guinan, and Picard. Truly the wildest
Combo.
grouping.
Yeah.
Truly big fan. Yeah, great. They're returning to the Enterprise after a fascinating visit to the planet. Oh God, did I write Marlania? Does that sound vaguely something?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Does not matter.
Yeah. I was guessing is this like an archaeological trip, because Picard's like showing them like some stuff from the trip. So Guinan
I
goes,
love what
"You're
a
on the
fucking nerd he is while he's doing that. Like,
Oh,
he is
yeah.
just
Yeah.
oblivious to the fact that they do not give the singlest fuck.
Yeah. So Guinan goes, "You're on the most beautiful planet in the quadrant, and you spend your entire shore leave in a cave." Picard goes, "It was a very rewarding experience. These fragments, they're very nearly in perfect condition, and yet they're nearly 700 years old." And then Guinan goes, "Says my father."
Owned.
So okay, Ro then like asks Keiko. Keiko's holding like some plants, and she's like, oh, she's interested in like plant biology. Cute, love that for Ro. So then Worf calls, and he's like, "Oh, we've received a distress signal from Starfleet's science team on LIGO 7. But the call was cut out mid-transmission." So they're like, "Great, we'll meet you at the Enterprise, and then we'll go off to save the science team." JK, the shuttle goes through an energy field first. So structural failure imminent. Terrible shake, like really terrible shaking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it
like
was very
Keiko
unconvincing.
and Guinan just kind of like wiggle in their chairs,
Yeah.
and like
That-
Picard and Ro just sort of put their hands on like the panel and just kind of like wiggle also.
Yeah, like even for Star
it's
Trek,
really bad.
It's bad. It always
very
stands
bad.
out to me.
Yeah. And all right, so they're able to get them, like the shuttle's falling apart. They're able to transport the four of them back to the Enterprise before the ship explodes. But they appear as children. So, okay, the kids are all in sickbay. Like, everyone seems fine. It's literally also fucking called it in my predictions. It is child them, but like it's still their adult minds.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah. Only their bodies are children. They still
yes.
like have the their minds and
I
cognitive
do want to
abilities.
give these kids a fuck ton of credit.
Yeah.
Especially the kids who played Ro and Guinan. Fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Keiko, I don't know as well. But that kid, like, the acting with these kids was great.
Yeah.
The Picard kid kind of threw me off a bit, but not in a bad way. I still think he was great,
Yeah.
but that hair threw me off so much. That hair was so distracting. I was like, I cannot for 1 second believe that Picard had hair like that at any point in his life.
Even as a boy?
No, even as a boy, not hair like that. I obviously I've seen a picture of Patrick Stewart when he was younger and he had hair, and it is very honestly upsetting to me. But like this kind of hair was truly.
Do you know who they got to play this character?
No, I don't know this child.
Do you remember Renee from the episode Family? His nephew?
Yes.
That's him.
Yes.
Same guy.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, the kid who looked in the opposite direction when like the fucking meteor went by.
Yes. That's the one.
Oh my
Thank
God,
you.
that's so funny.
Oh, I know,
Okay.
right?
Well, this kid was great. All these kids were freaking great. Okay, back to the
You know what was interesting is rewatching this episode. I remembered that Guinan's character was overdubbed.
Yes.
But I
was
didn't.
wondering why the voice sounded like kind of off, but I didn't think about it that hard. I was
Yeah.
like, maybe I'm just like.
But rewatching it, I noticed it. All the kids' voices are overdubbed.
Yes, they are.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I only noticed something with Guinan's. I did not notice for anybody else.
Yeah, Guine's is the most obvious, but they're all overdubbed, and I think they got adults to do kid voices.
No, they didn't. These are those actors' voices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I can probably shed some light on why they got dubbing on them later on. However, as it is, I think that the dubbing on Guinan's child character was the least convincing, and
Yeah.
I actually find her ADR to be pretty distracting.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I always just thought that they did it because, like, just to make Guinan stand out, because she, like, I always just thought they did it on purpose to make her seem, like, a little bit more wise and, like, other and stuff, because she's, like, this kind of, like, really old being and stuff.
Okay, fair.
That's the way I always interpreted it, because like that they made her sound that way on purpose.
Right. Okay.
Oh, okay. I honestly didn't. I only noticed something was off with Guinan's voice. The other kids, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Could not tell. Okay. So, yeah. So it's adults in the children's bodies. It's young them. Shuttle broke apart after they were beamed to the Enterprise, and then so of course it can't be an episode where Picard is different and I don't give him an episode specific nickname. So I called him Boycard.
Boycard is good.
Yeah. So
Nothing will ever beat Faux-card, but Boycard is good.
That's
I was
fair.
like,
Yeah.
I've got to. I can't not give him some kind of nickname.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay. I also like how everyone's like outfits just shrunk to fit their children bodies.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Okay, so Boycard goes on the bridge and everyone is like, who the fuck is this child?
Yeah.
So, okay, Dr. C talks to Boycard in his ready room, and Dr. C's like, listen, you may want to sit this out for a bit.
Yeah.
This may not be the vibe.
He's
let's
just
maybe hang back
immediately in
this time.
denial of his condition.
Yeah.
He's
because,
like, it's fine. I can still be the captain. I'm a child. I can do it.
Yeah,
And
because,
he's
like,
no, maybe not.
I think earlier, like, Dr. C says, like, oh, I wanna keep you guys here for, like, observation and stuff. And then Boycard is like, great, everyone else will stay and I will go do my job.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, something, like, really fucked up has happened to you. Maybe take a second.
Yeah. So they decide Riker's in charge. And honestly, I feel bad for Riker because every time he gets put in charge, something absolutely fucked happens.
Yeah. Well, that's the role of a first officer, right? You're there,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
for when something bad happens to the captain.
Side note, I really love how the Renee actor says Captain Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is
Picard.
he? Q?
Yeah.
I assure you, I am Captain Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ro and Guinan are having very different reactions. Guinan is like, yeah, I want to go play. And Ro's like, everything is terrible.
Yeah. Guinan's like going with the flow, and Ro is just like, this is fucking awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the kids who played like Ro and Guinan to me did like such a good job of like embodying the characters. They were great.
These kids did an excellent job of portraying the characters that they're supposed to be, and I'm very impressed with them for that.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
No, just the overdubbing part was the one thing I didn't like about it.
Okay.
yeah.
But like the
that's
actual
not their fault.
No, that isn't. I mean, it might be. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
Like I said, I'll get into that later.
Okay, so then we cut to O'Brien watching his child wife reaching for something on a shelf, and he does not help her. He just sits on the couch and watches her get a chair to bring over to the shelf so she could grab whatever the fuck that was. I don't remember what it is.
To be fair, he is in shock.
And
like,
yeah, and I actually did right. I wrote, O'Brien understandably is struggling.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, I'll get some coffee. And he's like, he thinks that his wife did, like, I guess, obviously this is like pretty fucked. And he's like, he's like trying to tell her his coffee order. And she's like, bitch, I know your coffee order.
Yeah.
Sit down.
And he's like,
and then
watch out, it's hot. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm like,
she's like, yeah.
Miles.
Keiko goes and sits on the couch, and she like puts like her like arm around his arm. She wants comfort, but like O'Brien is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which
which honestly,
fair.
I would hope he would be.
Yes. His reactions were fair. I mean, I do think he should have helped her get whatever the fuck she's getting on the shelf, but everything else I think was pretty valid.
Yeah.
But honestly, one of the first things I thought is like, what happens if, I mean, obviously I knew they were gonna get back to normal because again, I have this season 7 tray, so I know that Picard goes back to being Picard. So but I was like, would they divorce if she stays a child? Like, what happens?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, because that's like kind of weird. And then I fully forgot that they have a child.
Yeah.
And so like Molly, who's like a human now, like a person.
Yeah, she's like a
5 minutes ago was a baby, who she's talking now, and Molly's like, I want my mom to read a book, and Keiko's like, I'll read it to you, and she's like, I want my mom, bitch.
Yeah.
Fun fact: this is the same actress who plays Molly for the remainder of her time on Star Trek. Which is like the next 7 years.
Oh, wild.
Yes.
So Brian's like, okay, I'll read to you. That's fine. Okay, so Picard is also very much getting a kick out of having hair again. He is playing with it. And okay, I said, like, I feel like the actor did a great job, but he doesn't look like Picard.
No,
Yeah.
he doesn't.
That's why, like,
He
I
doesn't.
do not think like this could remotely be Picard as a child. However, I think this actor did a great job, like, Picard doing like the Picard vibe, so like I will allow it.
Yeah, he's definitely still in the spirit of Picard.
Yes. So then okay, so he's like, well, what should we do? Like, I think he's talking with Troy about like what future wise or whatever, and Troy's like, I would say people that know you and have worked with you will be able to make adjustments eventually, but there are some people who would find it difficult to accept a 12-year-old captain. So okay, Troy is brainstorming of what Picard could do within Starfleet, like while he's growing up again.
Yeah.
If like he doesn't go back to being adult Picard. So Troy's like, you could go back to the academy, brush up on your Latin, and then Boycard is like, and be Wesley Crusher's roommate, and I'm like, that's Wes's dream.
Boycard's
Picard's
like, no
nightmare.
thanks. Yeah.
yeah. Even Boycard's like hard pass.
Yeah.
And Troy's like, oh, what about archaeology? And then this does perk Boycard up a little bit. He's like, huh? Okay, so then Dr. C has realized that the plant that Keiko was holding when she was in the shuttle also went back to being seedlings, and she accelerated the growth of the plant, and it developed like perfectly normal adult plant. She obviously can't do this to people, but she guesses this means that if they do nothing, they would just grow normally.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, is the plant going to die violently and explode? Is that the twist? It did not.
No.
It did not. This was actually like fairly okay.
Yeah.
I fully thought this was going to be like a race against time. It went fucking left field in this episode. Honestly,
Yeah.
I could not have guessed where this was going.
What they're actually
Truly.
talking about in the scene actually annoys the crap out of me because they're sitting there discussing like made up science stuff about DNA, and like Star
Yeah.
Trek does this a lot, sci-fi does this a lot because like it's something that they can mess it with, and it makes for an interesting story. But if you lose part of your DNA, you just die.
Yeah.
You don't just become something else. You flat out die.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
you become like a pile of flesh.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
maybe you melt.
Maybe.
But yeah, you don't become a child. I also
Yeah,
love
they-
that they're applying this logic of like human DNA to plants, and apparently
Yes.
their clothes too.
Of course, of
Apparently
course.
their clothes.
Yeah. The closed
Like,
DNA.
Yeah, apparently the their adult clothed DNA got turned into child clothed
Oh,
DNA.
no. I don't know if you noticed this, but not all of them, but some of them, when they appeared on the transporter pad, were actually wearing clothes that were too big for them.
Yeah, but only slightly.
Yes. No, not Rose. Rose were huge. She was like
Okay.
stepping on her own pants.
Oh, I do not remember that. I do remember
didn't
though at
notice
the
that,
end
yeah.
of the episode, Picard wearing boy Card wearing the like clothes too big on him.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler.
Also, Renee
obviously,
isn't
when
that
he
much
turns
shorter
back
than
into
Patrick
Picard.
Stewart. So there's that.
Yeah.
The Renee
Yeah.
actor, sorry. Can't remember his name right now.
Yeah. So yeah, they talk about like the RVN codes missing. Yeah, we'll get to more of that after.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically
So-
like some science bullshit. Basically, like took away their
Yeah,
adults.
I wrote out. I have
whatever.
like the whole science explanation, which I'll get to very
Yeah,
shortly.
no, like
So-
I'm just trying to like I'm trying to think of a way to simplify it, because like the details do not matter because it's all made up anyway. Like who cares?
Yeah, basically okay, it's relevant to this next scene. So
Yeah.
like, O'Brien, like honestly, when O'Brien is not at the transporter room, like he fucking does any random fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
So him and Geordi, they're moving some shit like shuttle fragments in the shuttle bay, and Geordi's like, oh, look at this piece of the thing, and it like, oh, this is supposed to be really strong, falls apart in his hands. And he's like, yeah, it shouldn't fucking do this. So he sends traces to the lab. And okay, so now we're with Guinan and Ro. So Guinan is like, I guess, trying to YOLO at this point.
Yeah.
And Ro is sulking.
Yeah.
Apparently Ro had a shit childhood, which was fair. I believe they said that she was in like a refugee camp for
Yeah.
a good chunk of it.
Yeah. If you remember, the Bajoran people are like occupied and stuff. So
Yeah.
I do
okay,
think
so
that
then-
they handle that approach to discussing Rose's childhood with like a little bit too light or too much lightheartedness.
I think some of the stuff was like a little wong. Yeah, I would kind of agree. Like, okay, well, this next bit. So Guinan's like, oh, I bet you were a jumper when you were a kid, like jumping on the furniture. And I'm like, the only person who I could see as less than a jumper than Ro is Picard. So I do not think that Ro would have been jumping on furniture
No,
as
see,
a child.
Here's the thing. I believe it because she likes to thumb her nose at authority.
That's a fair
So-
point, actually.
So I feel like she would have done it just because it was
Out
something.
of spite, not for fun. I could
Well,
see her
I guess
doing
that
that,
is fun. Yeah.
but I don't.
Spite
I don't
can be
think
fun.
I can't see her doing it for fun. I could see her doing it to piss someone off,
Yeah,
but not
basically.
for like lols. Okay, so yeah, Guinan starts jumping on basically the least bouncy bed
Yeah.
I've ever seen. It just looks like foam, and then Ro is like, okay, yeah, I will go against my whole personality and I will jump on the bed too. Whatever, it's fine. The kids are great. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Geordi, Riker, O'Brien, and Dr. C are talking, and this is sort of the breakdown. Basically, Geordi thinks the shuttle was caught in a molecular reversion field, which created the structure of the shuttle to deteriorate. When it was deteriorating, it the field stuff went into the ship, caused some fuckery, the pattern shit, and because of the basically the energy shield, when O'Brien was transporting them back, he was only able to get part of the DNA, so he brought back the child DNA, and now there's still other, but they think that they can probably bring it back if they just put the kids back in the transporter, because they have their
adult
old
patterns.
Dr. C conveniently got their patterns right at some point before this, so she can match it up however that works. Science.
You'd think with all this bullshit happening, it would just be standard practice to just keep your automatically keep your pattern on file. Every time you transport, it's okay, we will copy your current pattern, so if anything goes wrong, we can just use that to undo it.
So they're well, that'll probably work, we're confident in that. So the transporter, they only got some, so they're children, whatever. My biggest takeaway from this was, I hope nobody fucking tells Reg about this. Reg would fucking lose his mind if he found out about this. This would just add more to his fear. Okay, so then, they think they can fix shit. So Worf calls to Riker that they are entering orbit around Lego 7. They can't detect the science team as there's extreme fluctuations in the electromagnetic field on the planet. And then out of fucking nowhere, 2 Klingon ships uncloak and fire on the Enterprise. Alarms going off. Boycard can't see anything, so he closes his book. Before he runs out of there, he can't do anything. He's just wait, before I go do anything, I need to close my book. And he runs out of the room. Okay, so they're losing primary life support. Everything is failing. Shields down to 13%. Warp engines are down. Casualties being reported all over the place. Sensors and secondary generators are offline. Life support 67 cents. What did the shields even do sometimes? I need to talk about this after. I don't understand what the shields actually do at this point, because I don't think they're shielding. I do not think they shield.
They do whatever the episode needs them to do.
Yeah, this episode is criticized heavily for its abysmal failure at making the Enterprise a powerful ship. Because, what the fuck?
Yeah, everything fucking fails in 1 sec. They get hit once and everything just falls to shit.
Yeah.
So, Data detects transporter signatures and cargo bays. They're being boarded. Oh no, it's the Ferengi. One of them exits in the turbo lift and tells Boycard to go with him. There's 2 other Ferengis transport onto the bridge. I feel like you shouldn't be able to do that, but whatever. Yeah. Worf fires at one, but then misses, and then he gets fired at and knocked out. So we meet one, his name is Morta, and he's like, oh yeah, transport all the able-bodied adults to the surface. And I'm like, okay, so I was a little slow to the take here, so I wrote, so science team isn't in danger, it's just a trap. They are in danger.
Yeah.
We do learn they are in fact in danger. They probably didn't send out the distress signal.
Yeah,
probably a trap. Yeah. Okay, so then I was like, oh, is this how Boycard Row, everyone saves the day because they're children? Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so Worf is still unconscious.
I love it. It's like a little middle school heist.
Yeah, it's very Home Alone.
Yeah.
Sort of, but I like this. I hate Home Alone.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Wait. Didn't you say you've never seen the original one? You've only seen the third one that doesn't have Macaulay Culkin in it?
That was true up until a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had only seen the one with that other child. I think he's from Max Keeble's Big Move, I want to say. No, no, that's a different kid. This is the child from like a different, maybe he's from Liar Liar. I don't know. I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
Another child.
Okay.
Last year at work, people were making fun of me because I never saw the original Home Alone.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine, I will fucking watch Home Alone. I hated that movie.
Really?
I hated Home Alone.
Why?
I don't like Kevin. I don't like the
that's fair
story. Kevin nearly kills people.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like anything about this movie. How do they get all the way to they get past they leave a child in a different country they don't even notice till like so much later? How does that even happen? I know they're like, oh, it's chaos, but like, that's a child.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, okay, I did not. This is not a movie for me. This is probably one of those movies you got to see when you're a kid.
Yeah.
In the holiday spirit and all that jazz. I was not in the holiday spirit, if you will. And I saw it as a grown-ass adult. And I was like, I don't like this. Also, I knew the thing of Kevin, like, you know, putting was it aftershave on his hands and putting on his face and doing the like, ah. But then I realized in the movie, he does it fucking twice. Like, this bitch learned nothing. He knows that it fucking hurts his face. And he's like, what if I do it again? Like, Kevin, you learn nothing.
Yeah.
Kevin,
I think it is.
I know he's a child, but he's still, like, he learns nothing. Kevin, I can't.
Yeah, I think it is fair to say that this is definitely not a movie for you. It's like,
Yes.
it's like a Christmas movie, which is like,
There's-
that's very,
there's-
like, hit or miss with people.
Yeah, there's like a handful of movies that I've learned that I did not watch as a child that people very much like go on nostalgia.
Yeah.
Very nostalgic on, and that I watched as an adult for the first time, and I did not like any of these. What also falls into this, and I know this is definitely hot takes, but I do not like Hocus Pocus. I watched that as an adult, and I also do not like Nightmare Before Christmas. I do not like that movie. I was forced to watch both those movies against my will, and I did not like them.
Oh, no.
I know, hottest of takes. I also hate Homeward Bound. I was
I
forced to
don't-
watch
I've
that
never
one
seen-
too.
I've never seen that one.
It's there's too much commentary. There's too like I like Michael J. Fox as much as the next. It's too much. It's too fucking much.
Listen, that's fair enough. The only reason I'm like gasping is because I watched Hocus Pocus all the fucking time, even not on Halloween. Like when I was a kid, whenever we went to Blockbuster, which like we did like once a week or something, we'd rent movies. I always wanted to rent Hocus Pocus every week.
No, I didn't watch it till I was in my 20s.
It's not even that good of a movie, but when I was a kid, for some reason, that movie just hit. Like, and
I had that with Men in Black when I was young.
Yeah, and same with the Nightmare Before Christmas too. That also was like so my jam when I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, speaking of jam, I mean, I'm the same. My version of this is Space Jam.
Yeah. Oh, I love Space Jam too.
I love
it.
Space Jam as a kid. I do acknowledge it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I could write an essay about how much it does not make sense.
Yeah.
But that's my nostalgia childhood
Yeah.
movie.
And I was gonna say about Home Alone. It's another one of those movies where like you can't think about the details too hard, and I know you like to think about the details a lot.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's just like, yeah, it's definitely not for.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
You
Not
had-
everything. I don't need to be the target audience for everything. I was never going to be the target audience for that particular movie.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah,
fair.
I think I think it's fair to say that that's like a movie you have to kind of grow up with.
yeah. So
Anyway,
I'm fine.
that was
It's-
Home
yeah.
Alone corner.
Yeah.
Hey, a boy corner. This is Kevin McAllister.
Yeah. Oh God, where was I? Just my notes. Don't tell Reg.
The Ferengi just came aboard the
boarded.
ship.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay. So yeah, Worf's still unconscious, and like one of them kicks his foot, and they're like, meh, okay. So, okay, the Ferengi argue because Riker, like, really, like, the last possible minute, like, he truly, like, this came in absolute clutch. He, like, turned off the computer system. It's like Riker Omega something, whatever the fuck he said. And the computer's like, later days, gang. So then we meet Damon Lauren, who declares the ship a loss and is open to claim per Ferengi salvage code.
When he steps onto the bridge, he looks like he's trying to evoke Don Corleone.
Yeah.
He's going to make Riker an offer he can't refuse. He's like, follow our rules or we execute the crew.
Yeah.
Riker does kind of, well, sort of refuses
Yeah.
at this point. So, okay, the Ferengi, he pushes Boykard into a classroom, and Ro, Guinan, Keiko, and like a bunch of other kids are there. And I saw the back of Alexander's head, and I was like, oh, hey. And Keiko's like, oh, by the way, I also have a baby. Where is she? And Boykard's like, she's probably where you left her. I wouldn't worry. I'm like, Boykard, I feel like this is a situation where she should worry about her baby.
Well, to be fair, he's like, it looks like they're not really doing anything to the children, so they probably just have
they're just like hanging out. Don't worry,
Yeah.
it's fine. Your child is somewhere else. Well, we're being fucking boarded by people who are threatening to kill the crew.
What else is he supposed to say, though?
Yeah, I don't know. I just like, he's like, it's fine, don't worry.
Yeah.
So the kids start brainstorming how to get control of the ship back. It feels very Goonies.
Yeah.
Also, very hot take. I don't care that much about the Goonies.
Oh my god, that's literally my favorite movie from when I was a kid. Like,
I watched it in high school, and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't get it. I liked that house that they lived in.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a cool house. Past that, I was like, I don't know. I don't dislike it. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
also don't
I'm
like it very
indifferent.
much.
Like,
Yeah, it
like
didn't do anything for me.
speaking of movies that like just hit when I was a kid, that was one of them. That was like, so it's very hard for me to pick like a favorite movie or song or whatever. But like, if we're talking about childhood me, Goonies was absolutely my favorite movie. Anyway.
Okay, so Guinan is like, oh, we can't really do anything adult styles, so let's do it kids styles way. The Ferengi, though, are like, oh, they're like, yeah, we're not fucking part of the like Federation agreement. And now that we've acquired this Federation ship and crew, we also are going to get this planet with Vendorite, which apparently is valuable in some capacity. I don't really know what it does.
They didn't say they're not part of the Federation agreement. They said they're not part of like the Ferengi. What do they call it? Are they Empire or
Ferengi Alliance.
Oh, the Alliance.
Yeah, they're not part of the Ferengi Alliance, so they're like rogue. So
yeah. That's mostly what
Yeah.
I meant by that. Is like they're not part of like the people who like follow the shit. They're just kind of off on their own doing shit. So so then they want to use the crew as slave labor to mine the Vendorite. Well, basically that's what the science crew has been. They've been slave laboring. They've been mining, which fucking sucks. And they're gonna sell shit on the Romulan market. Okay, we do learn there's 1,014 people on the ship. And Lauren threatens that he's like, listen, you guys fucking cooperate and turn the computers back on, or an accident, might happen in the mines or something. Who knows? Who can say? Okay, so now back in the classroom, Picard is like trying to get the computer to work. So the computer says, what can I do for you today? And Boykard says, complete display, interior security grid. And the computer says, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Would you like to play a game? And then Boykard goes, no, I would not. Computer, display an internal schematic diagram. And the computer goes, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Would you like to see some interesting plants or animals?
Yeah.
And then Guinan's like, it's a child's computer, remember? Like, I love this. Okay. And then you hear it, and then it just goes, do you know how to spell enterprise?
Yeah.
And the computer starts selling Enterprise in the background. I was dying.
Yeah.
Okay, so the kids are like, okay, we gotta figure some shit out. They're like, what if we go through the fucking Jeffrey's tubes and like, you know, go to this other shit to do our plan. And then Alexander drives what basically looks like a cat carrier, like, you know, those cat backpack carriers that have like this, the little like half globe thing where the cat can look out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you put the cat carrier on a skateboard. So Alexander's like controlling it, and Boy Card's like, hey, can I borrow this for a bit? And okay, so they use the cat carrier they drive it into the transporter room to distract a Ferengi to get out of the room. Boy Card and Keiko, they get phasers. Boy Card fucks around with the transporter panel, which we'd find out later what he does, but I know what he was doing at this point. Alexander knocks on the window of like sick bay, like distracting another Ferengi so he can grab some other shit. Boy Card then is like, they go back and they're like, hey, we got all this shit. And Boy Card's like, there's only one way I can think of to get to the bridge. And he pulls a Draco Malfoy. He goes up to the Ferengi and he's like, I want to see my father now.
Yeah. This is my
father will
part
hear about
of the
this.
whole fucking episode.
That's fair, yeah.
I died.
Yeah.
So,
because he fully like goes, I want to see my father now. No. While stomping his foot, like full tantrum.
I was dying. So, we cut to the ready room, and
I think it's the conference.
Boy Card's father is Riker.
Yeah.
And he runs over to him and he's like, Dad, and gives him a huge hug. And Riker's face is so perfect. He's just like, what the fuck? And then Riker's like, so he does this whole like kind of charade of like, oh, I want to like fucking play on the computer in schoolroom 8.
Yeah, there's no good games on the computer.
Yeah. And then Riker says, I know, the Ferengi made Daddy turn off the main computer.
Yeah.
I was like, I would have never ever guessed that in this show, Riker would refer to himself as Daddy.
Yeah.
Not like in any capacity. Like literally, like it just in any way doesn't, never. And I was so caught off guard by this. I accidentally moved the mouse on my computer and I accidentally pressed on another part in the episode because I was so caught off guard. And then I had to spend a few minutes trying to figure out where the fuck I was because I was like, what just happened?
Oh, God.
And then, so then Boy Card asks Riker to like turn the computer on. And then Boy Card goes, thanks, number one. And then Ferengi gives like this weird look. And then Boy Card goes, he's my number one dad.
Yeah.
And they hug again. And
I
so
love that
my
line,
pitch
too.
for title of this episode is Number One Dad.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. I 100% agree. He's my number one dad.
Yeah. So yeah, Riker absolutely. They bring Boy Card back to the room, and they're like, "Did Commander Riker understand?" And I'm like, "A hamster could figure out what you were fucking asking, you guys. This was not subtle in the slightest. Of course, Riker understood. Like, Riker's not an idiot."
Look, Star Trek has done many instances where they're like either saying something in code or trying to imply something, and they're always like, oh, did he understand what you mean? And they're like, oh god, I hope so. And it's like the most obvious shit in the universe. In what do you call it? In Wrath of Khan, so what happens is the ship gets damaged, and Khan is in another ship and he's monitoring their communications, and Kirk is like down on a planet, and the Enterprise had to fuck off. So he calls up to the ship and he's just like, hey, so what's the situation? And what Spock starts off with saying is, Admiral, if we go by the book. And he even says it with like a pause. Hours could seem like days. And Kirk's just like, okay, understood. So what's the report? Well, we're going to have to fix the warp drive, and it would take something like 3 to 4 days. And he, like, every time he says days, he stops and emphasizes it, and it's like, guys, come on. This is really obvious right now.
Yeah.
And then in the end, he says, by the book, sir.
Okay, so yes, Riker fucking gets it. So the Ferengi then are like, okay, oh my god, okay, so the head Ferengi, so Lauren, he is like, I wonder if this was like scripted or like this was just the actor improvising, was like obsessed with the aquarium in Picard's ready room. He's just trying to figure out where it starts and ends, and he's just like fucking around on the wall trying to figure it out.
It could be something they
so
came
random.
up with on the spot. It could be the director.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was so funny. Okay, so then Lauren's
for the
like,
record,
listen.
that actor and several other Ferengi in this episode have played Ferengi before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then Lauren's like, listen, no plan. You don't give us access to the computer, we start killing the kids, starting with Boy Card. And so Riker's like, oh, they're like, also, you have to explain everything to Morta. And Riker's like, I can do that. So he turns the computer back on, and he just, like, just verbal diarrhea is nothing out of his mouth. He just is like, oh yes, you know what this thing is. And Morta's like, yeah, of course, I'm not an idiot. And he's just like, he's talking to, Morta, telling him nonsense, and at the other hand he is turning the computer on in the schoolroom.
I think that Jonathan Frakes deserves so many props for the performance of delivering those lines without A, stepping over his own words, and B, cracking up while he was saying it.
Or like winking to the camera or something.
Yes. Well, you don't know how many takes it took. We don't know.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so now the Ferengi. So now they are able to like put their plan into motion. They can do transporter shit. So we got the Ferengi with the cat carrier. He gets trapped on the platform in the transporter room. Ro and Guinan have snuck into engineering. They place the communicator badges on the backs of 2 other Ferengi, who are then transported back into the transporter room. Now on the other side of this on the platform, there's a barrier. Alexander gives the badge to another Ferengi. He's like, "Is this yours?" And he gets transported onto the platform as well. And then Keiko looks very, very happy to knock one of the Ferengis unconscious. She just has too much of a good time with that tool. So
I mean, she had to be very serious earlier in the episode, so this is definitely fun for her.
Yeah.
So then they're like, okay, we got 2 left on the bridge. So Alexander then is like assigned by Boy Card to stand guard over the classroom. Very cute. I like that Alexander got something to do. Good for him. So we're back on the bridge. Riker's just BSing like out his ass.
Yeah.
Just party. So then Boy Card busts in. He aims his phaser, but doesn't shoot. Riker knocks Morta out. And then Boy Card enters the ready room, and Lauren is like, what the fuck? And then Boy Card is like, I believe you're in my chair. And then Lauren has this like Steve Urkel, did I do that gesture? Like, and look on his face. I'm like, yeah, girl, you did do that.
Yeah.
So then, Boy Card gets to Captain's log, which was cute.
Also, I still love, like, because from that guy's perspective, he does not know that he's an adult in a child's body. So So they're fully telling him that this child is the captain of this ship.
Yeah. Okay, so now Boy Card now goes back to Picard. The transporter, they, do that key sequence shit. He's back. Dr. C is very psyched that he's back.
Yeah.
And Picard immediately just goes, like, touches his head immediately. Like, oh, Picard. Okay, so now we cut to little Ro is still in the classroom, and adult Guinan back to normal finds her. And they have like a nice little moment. Rose like, maybe my childhood wasn't as shit as I thought. But she also drew a picture of her mother in crayons, which was really sweet. And Guinan, and she's like, I guess it's my turn, to like go turn back. And Guinan's like, listen, the transporter's not fucking going anywhere. Oh, we got some time. Pass me the royal blue crayon. So then they hang out and draw, and I thought that was very cute.
Yeah.
The writers' room toyed with the idea of perhaps keeping Ro like this, but
No,
that got
Adult
nixed
Ro
pretty
is
quickly.
so good. The actress who plays Adult Ro is so fucking good.
Yeah, that idea got nixed pretty quickly. So yeah.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed this episode.
And here's the thing. I love the sentiment of that, and I don't think they should have made a different decision. But there is, like, some fucking, like, ensign waiting in the transporter room, like, for you to come and, like, get fixed, like, like, you are wasting other people's time a little bit.
No. It's O'Brien waiting in the transporter room.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
It's okay.
Funnily enough,
He can waste all of O'Brien's time. It's fine.
there's a lot of interesting landmarks in this episode that I didn't actually know about earlier, but this was O'Brien's last appearance on TNG.
Oh, was it?
Yes, after this, he moves on to DS9, which premiered in the same year. In fact, it premiered 2 months after this.
Yeah, I always forget that TNG and DS9 overlap.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
So
for
this
about
is
a
like
year and
the
a half.
last time I get to dunk on O'Brien.
No,
we
it's the
start
last time you get to
DS9.
Duncan O'Brien while we do TNG.
Yes. So it'll be a while, though. Wild. Wow.
There is a crossover episode with DS9, but I don't think O'Brien's in it. I don't
He's
remember.
not. No, he's not. Which was a weird choice.
Yeah.
But, whatever. So this episode was bought up by I don't know exactly who bought up the premise for it, but the two elder statesmen, if you can call them that, on TNG's writing team, Michael Piller, who was the showrunner at the time, and Jerry Taylor, they had a really lovely affinity for this particular premise. They had picked it up last season and were really excited by it, but they couldn't find a writer who could turn it into something that was actually good. And finally, Ronald D. Moore stepped up to the plate and he said, "You know what? Fine, it's my job." He hated writing this.
Oh,
However,
that's too bad.
However, he acknowledged that it was his job to be in the writer's room, and that means that he might not always get the best things to write. So he put his damnedest into still making it a good script. And you know what? I think he succeeded at that pretty well.
Yeah.
It's not a deep episode. This season in general so far is deeply unserious. And that's not about to stop, as you'll figure out from just hearing the title of the next episode. But but yeah, he put his damnedest into it, and he did a really good job. And on top of that, we have an introduction of alumni for it, because this episode was directed by Leonard Nimoy's son, Adam Nimoy.
Oh.
And it was his first time directing a Star Trek episode. He obviously got in by, being connected through family. He had done some some assistant director work in Star Trek VI, which shot in the same year. And so he got a lot of experience with some bigwigs there and made his connections, and that's how he was able to direct this episode. And I think he directs one other this season. But they gave him so many props for this, because getting your first directing gig and then being told, all right, you have to direct 4 children. That's something Martin Scorsese would have trouble with.
Yeah.
And Alexander.
Well, I mean, Alexander doesn't do much in it.
But he does do a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, very little. Very little.
Yeah, honestly, this might be a highlight episode so far for me.
I
of
love this
season.
episode.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I honestly, when it was okay, they're children, I was this is going to be kind of hokey. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hokey.
It is, but but in a good way.
Yeah, not in an annoying way.
Yeah, because I was oh God, are these going to be, I actually wrote in my notes, where is it? Where they're oh, is this how they're going to do it is like that's how they're getting the kids to do shit. Is like they take all the, because they're like, oh, we'll take the able-bodied adults to the planet. And I literally, oh yeah, so this is how Boycard, Ro, and Guinan, etc. save the day because they look like children. I wrote boo in my notes because I was like, this is gonna be annoying. This is gonna be ugh. But honestly, like, no, I enjoyed this a lot. I had a good time with this episode. The kids were great.
Yeah.
This ended up being, and I think on like, yeah, it was well written. I liked the story. I like definitely did not see it coming that like this was like a trap, like the Ferengies would show up. I was like truly expecting to be like, oh, it's a race against time, we have to save them, but like it's established like partway through that, oh yeah, no, we have like a plan to get them back, they're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so that's actually like one less thing to worry about, and I'm kind of glad they did that, because then I could kind of enjoy it for what it was. I didn't have to be like, oh, these kids are gonna fucking explode and die or something.
Yeah.
It's like, they're just up to some hijinks, but like they're still adults, and I like that they leaned into some kid stuff, but in the end, like, they're still very much their adult selves.
Yeah.
So I like that it didn't get like it's silly in a fun way. It didn't get like silly in a dumb way.
Yeah. Because like they established that like, look, they're gonna be fine. There's no rush or whatever. So it lets you relax and just enjoy the hijinks of it.
Yeah. So
you know?
yeah. So then like when Boycard and his Daddy Riker.
Oh,
I could enjoy it, like their moment together, which was like fucking hilarious. But I could enjoy it because it was like, okay, we're not threatened by this child is not going to explode and die any second.
Yeah.
I can just be like, I'm rooting for whatever the fuck this to happen. And yeah,
you seem really
just made it
fixated on
adorable.
that they were gonna explode.
I don't know why. I just truly thought like there was going to be a race against time of like, oh, they're going to fucking die if we can't turn them back into adult. I don't know. Maybe I thought, okay, now I'm thinking about, I'm like, did I think they were going to like Benjamin Button or something? I don't know. But I really thought they were going to die. I really thought that like they, from whatever the energy field was, it was going, it like, because they were like, oh, it fucked with the DNA, and I'm like, what if like their DNA keeps disappearing? I don't know. I really just thought they were gonna like die or something, like, or they were gonna frame it like they were dying. And I thought with the plants, they were gonna be like, oh, the plants have died, and then, or like, oh, they like, you know, went back to health, and then Dr. C later is gonna be like, oh, the plants died.
Yeah.
That
is
like, oh,
honestly,
no.
that's not
But
an
I'm actually
unfair assumption. That's not an unfair thing to
but
think.
I'm very fine with the way that it went. That's fine. But also, like, how wild would it be if they just were like, leave them as kids and just like let them grow up again normal?
Yeah.
That would have been wild.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm very much on board with this episode.
Yeah. So, like, I don't interact with like sort of the wider sort of Star Trek fandom and stuff like that, like, very much. But like from what I have seen, it seems like this episode, like, most people don't like it or think it's like stupid or something. Which it
gets a lot of hate from like intellectuals specifically and people who take Star Trek very seriously.
Yeah.
It's fun. And it does a better job of being fun than most Trek episodes that try to be fun do.
Yeah, definitely. Like, don't get me wrong, this episode is stupid, but that's like kind of the point. Like, yes. it is just supposed to be like a little dumb and fun and stuff like that. And I kind of get if that's like not what you're looking for in Star Trek, but also like, I don't think you're watching the right show, because Star Trek is like fucking stupid all the time.
Yes.
Like, this is at least like entertainingly stupid. Yeah. So like maybe you have like too lofty of goals for the show, or too lofty expectations, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's fair to move on.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Favorite moments and lines?
Oh my god.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in general, I really liked this episode. The kids, A pluses all around. Obviously Riker Daddy. I loved Picard's Draco Malfoy moment. I liked when Troy was like brainstorming with Picard of like what he could do within Starfleet, and Picard's like, and be Wesley Crusher's roommate. I'm like, oh boy. I liked Alexander getting to do some stuff. I always thought that was cute. He got to be in on the action. They could have fully forgotten about him. Like
Yeah.
at this point, I actually expect TNG to forget about some shit. That like every time Alexander shows up, like in passing, I'm like, it's Alexander.
Yeah. It's nice that
I'm
they
like,
remember
always
he's
surprised. Yeah, so I did like that. Yeah, this is a scenario where that he's there and he helped and it was great.
And I helped.
Yeah. I like the Picard with the computer scene. A boy card with the do you want to play a game, or would you like to see some interesting plants or animals? Do you know how to spell enterprise?
I think if I remember correctly, I think the computer specifically says fish. Like, would you like to see some interesting plants or fish?
I think it says animals.
Oh, okay.
They say plants or animals. I was like, I love
Okay.
how vague that is.
I think I rewrote it in my brain because I think fish is funnier.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
fair.
I do like boy card going, thanks, number one. He's my number one dad.
Yeah.
I like Riker's absolute nonsense explanation of how to use the computer. Mm-hmm. I liked Lauren being really fascinated with the aquarium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just enjoyed this episode. It was really fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, Guinan's little moment with Ro at the end was very cute. I'm like, let's color together.
Yeah. I like all the kid interactions, and like, yeah, my absolute favorite moment is boy card throwing his little tantrum in order to be able to talk to Riker. It's so funny. But yeah, like, other than that, like, all the same ones you mentioned. Like, I just generally enjoy the episode.
Yeah.
I actually really like Molly's first appearance of "Not you, I want mommy."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that shit was so awkward. And it's like, I like how they kind of like nod to like the weird implications of the situation, but like don't get too weird with it. They're like, yeah, this is fucking awkward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like I O'Brien is appropriately uncomfortable with the
yes.
situation. Yeah.
I mean, a real weird way to go out with him, considering that there are Torture O'Brien episodes in
Yeah.
DS9, and like, this is a little bit of a Torture O'Brien scene.
Yeah, a little bit.
I will stand by the fact that I think he should have helped her get that thing from the shelf.
Yeah.
Instead of just watching her struggle.
Yeah. I think, yeah, ultimately he should have, but like, I get that he was like kind of
In shock.
in shock and really assessing the situation. All right, so on to predictions for the next episode. So this one, I was a dumbass and accidentally spoiled this a little bit for Dory. I sent her a TikTok that was like a fun edit of this episode. Like,
Oh.
I watched 2 seconds and I was like, I don't understand what's happening, so I exited it. So the only thing I know about it is it's something of like the Wild West, but I watched and Worf is in it.
Yeah.
But that's all I got because I was like, I don't get it. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm watching.
yeah, luckily the TikTok was vague enough that it was like, you know, it was like, it was a good little teaser for the episode.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing. I
Yeah.
just literally 2 seconds. I was like, I don't get it. I turned it
All right,
off.
that's good. That's
It's because I thought we had already watched it, because sometimes I watch ahead just because I feel like watching Star Trek, and so I mixed it up and I thought we'd already watched the episode, but I watched it on my own. Anyway, the next episode is called A Fistful of Datas. And the description is, I'm reading this from the Netflix description. While the crew is experiencing much needed downtime, Worf and his son go on an Old West excursion on the holodeck.
Dory?
You alright?
Yeah, this is a really funny name of the episode.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you get the reference.
Of course. Fistful of datas. I really like that.
When you're editing it, please keep the long pause in there and
Yeah.
have me be like, Dory?
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't... I thought that she had
Okay.
disconnected.
Yeah. You're
No,
fully
I'm
silent.
just laughing. Okay. Prediction. Okay. Downtime. Okay. So yay. Okay. Holodeck.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Holodeck. Okay. Oh, so Alexander goes too. Cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously him and Worf do like a Old West thingy on the holodeck.
Yes. Fistful of datas.
Yeah.
Oh God, I mean, I would like to think that Data gets to go to the Old West scenario also, just based on the title of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like it's just Worf and Alexander, and someone was like, "I have the best fucking name for an episode ever." And they're like, "What? But Data doesn't go." And they're like, "It doesn't fucking matter. We're using this title." So I would love it if Data went with. It's
So-
got some downtime. Yeah, what am I predicting?
Yeah. So, okay, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like, something goes wrong. So what do you think goes wrong with the holodeck?
Okay. Okay. So, maybe there's like some kind of system error or something, where they can't get out of the holodeck, and so they can't shut down the program, and maybe like Worf, or maybe I feel like Alexander's more likely to like stir up some shit. He like, fucks around and they find out, and they're basically like on the run. Like they're basically like, like cowboys, I guess. And yeah, they're stuck. Like they can't get out, and people are trying to like figure out how to get them out, but but I wonder if there's like an other entity that's like, trying to like, maybe they want to have fun, and they've like locked like the holodeck and won't let Worf and I feel like they get trapped in the holodeck is the bottom line.
Yeah,
I feel like they can't get out, and they're being like chased basically.
Yeah.
Like their lives are in peril and they can't get out, whether it's like a ship issue or an outside entity. Someone is keeping them there. They can't get out, and they're being chased by, the law. The sheriff. I don't know.
All right.
It'd be fun if though like the rest of the team is able to like get in there too, but that might be too much wishful thinking. Anyways,
All right. Well, if you'd like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
goodbye.